The Joyful Heart Foundation focuses on addressing sexual assault, domestic violence, and child abuse. How prevalent are these issues in Indiana, and what unique challenges do survivors face when it comes to seeking justice and healing?
Well, can I just piggyback for a minute on what Cassie just said? And I think it's so important. She's talking about these 33% of women experiencing sexual assault. And we know that these numbers are often underreported because it's very difficult to talk about these issues. In terms of how many survivors are reporting to law enforcement, you could look at those numbers, but you know that's a quarter of actually what is occurring out there. That three-quarters of survivors actually never report the assault to law enforcement. The vast majority of people never tell anyone. So, even doing some sort of even household-based surveys, or trying to get like a real number that isn't about reporting to law enforcement, it's still very difficult for people to disclose. They might not even understand or call what happened to them sexual assault. So, I just think it's important to recognize these numbers are terribly high, but they're also not really demonstrating what the full scope of the problem is. Um, and so I'm not an expert in what's going on in Indiana. I think Cassie can respond more to that, but I can say that also the access is a huge issue across the country to getting a forensic exam done. That's a huge barrier. And when people hear, you might have to go an hour or so or whatever, especially in a cop car, they're probably not going to do it. And so we just have a whole, unfortunately, set of barriers to folks reporting and getting help. When we started working in Indiana, actually in 2014, we did a Freedom of Information Act to the Indianapolis Police Department to find out what the number of untested rape kits were there. And we're able to bring to light, along with some media folks, that there were 5,006 untested rape kits in the city of Indianapolis alone, which was a very shocking discovery to us, and I think many people in the state. And so, that is, I think, just indicative of kind of the breakdown of the system and how the system, unfortunately, it's not just Indianapolis, of course, or Indiana, it's across the country, does not take the crime of sexual assault seriously, does not prioritize it as the violent crime that it is, even though it is the second most violent crime as categorized by the FBI. But we still don't, we're still working on, getting people to understand this is a violent crime. The offenders that offend in this crime are repeat offenders often, and they're not specialists. They don't just commit sexual assault, they commit all kinds of crime. So when you look at 5,000 untested rape kits, you have to remember each one of those represents, somebody who at that time of the assault was in Indiana, probably an Indiana resident. So these kids represent a person who's gone through one of the most terrible things they'll go through in their whole life, and also represents a dangerous offender that is potentially still walking on the streets of Indiana or Indianapolis, and committing crimes over and over again because they don't stop until they're stopped.